Good morning. Good morning, Bullis. If we can go ahead and take our seats, that would be greatly appreciated. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for that. And thank you for joining us here today. I want to thank you in advance for your attention. I want to thank you in advance for listening. I want to thank you in advance for being present in the moment. We are here today not only to honor National Day of Silence. This is also National Day of Education. We are here to learn. We are here to consider perspectives. As I said last week, when we consider perspectives, we may encounter a situation where a perspective may not be one of our own, and that is okay. However, this is not the day to share your voice. This is the day to listen to other voices that you may not have heard before. For today's program, we are going to hear from members of PRISM. And then later, Ms. Monroe Myers will lead us through the rest of the program. I once again thank you in advance for your attention and thank you for listening. At this time, I would like to invite Belle and Ella up.
Hey guys, my name is Belle. I'm senior and I'm co-president of PRISM.
I'm Ella. I'm also a senior and I'm the other co-president of PRISM.
We are so excited for you guys to be here with us today. We've been working for this for a long time, so thank you so much again for your attention. We wanted to talk a little bit about why PRISM is important, specifically why Bullis has PRISM. And if you don't know what the club is, it's basically a place for people of the LGBT community to come, for allies to come. And it's a safe space where you can come once a week to be yourself. We're open to everyone. We have meetings every Wednesday, and it's just a good kind of break in the middle of the week for everyone to take a moment, step back, be with people who are like you. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about why PRISM is important to me. And one of the main reasons is because this June, my mom is getting remarried. And you can probably guess from the theme of this assembly that it's not considered a traditional marriage. But there's one thing that you should know. Ms. Heinzelman, who many of us had as a health teacher or a coach, is my mom's fiance. Amy comes from a tight family. She grew up in our area playing basketball and running around with her 3 older brothers. But 2 of her brothers will not be attending her wedding, not because of financial or other conflicts, but because they don't support her marrying my mom. When they first announced their engagement, most of Amy's family didn't congratulate her. They didn't acknowledge that she was in a relationship with my mom. For the longest time, my mom was known as Amy's very good friend. Amy is one of the kindest and most loving people I've ever met. She's helped me come to terms with who I am and who I like too. She deserves her family's love, and they refuse to accept her. It makes her daily life a struggle. They've gone from eating together every weekend to minimal contact. She says, regardless, though, that you should always be kind. You never know what someone has going on behind the scenes, and it's important to show your love, compassion, and acceptance. Thank you. So a little bit about the Day of Silence. The reason why we're participating is basically to show allyship and show support for people who have struggled with their identity or have faced adversity or violence because of it. Saya Woodland was a Black transgender woman who was brutally murdered because of her identity, and she lived in St. Mary's County. In police reports and social media posts, she was constantly misgendered. And, that's quite disrespectful. So another thing is multiple bills are being passed around the United States that restrict trans people, specifically trans youth, from accessing health care, from playing in youth athletics, and updating their IDs. It's occurring in multiple states, including North Dakota, Kansas, and Idaho. We are dealing with constant discrimination and attacks against spaces from the community.
And some stats. 82% of LGBT students experience bullying or harassment because of their identity. 71% of students reported that their class does not include LGBTQ topics. More than 30% of LGBTQ miss school because they feel unsafe. And over half of LGBT students of color experience in-person victimization based on race or ethnicity. All right, and then I have a little speech to say. Being true to yourself when you are queer is definitely a difficult journey. From a young age, you are shown that your identity is a joke. It's an insult your classmate calls their friend. It's an uncomfortable topic that makes the room feel awkward and causes people to let out a nervous giggle. It's a trait that has many possibilities to make people disapprove or even hate you. I am a person made up of many characteristics, many identities, and many things that are important to me. This is simply another aspect of my identity, yet for some reason, it can be terrifying to come to terms with it. Many times, I've felt embarrassed or ashamed of myself for being something that many people think is a joke or insult. I've felt scared that I would lose friends or people would invalidate me or harass me. I've seen the shakes of people's heads or the mumbling of jokes to a friend when anything LGBT related is brought up during an assembly. All of this and more has made me terrified to stand up here and speak today, yet I also know that being ashamed of myself and living a lie is the greatest disservice I could do to myself. For every person who scorns at me, there are people who love and accept me. There are always people out there who will be proud of you like you should be proud of yourself. And I am proud of myself. Despite what challenges life might throw my way, I will continue to live proudly because everyone deserves to love and accept themselves. Okay, and next up we have Ryan.
Hey y'all, how are you doing today? Throughout today's assembly, we've learned a lot about the LGBTQ+ experience. Right now, however, I want to talk about why what we are learning here is so important. Allyship is extremely important because understanding the members of the LGBTQ+ community is the first step to respecting us for who we are. Secondly, you should care because you can't fully be a part of a community until you both understand and respect all members of that community. And finally, you should care because when you don't understand the LGBTQ+ community, you miss out on all the amazing people who are a part of it. The LGBTQ+ community is not something that is simple to understand. Like all other communities, we have a vast heritage and history filled with struggle, loss, and heroes. Some of these heroes include Harvey Milk, Marsha P. Johnson, Gilbert Baker, Elliot Page, Lil Nas X, and many more. However, throughout history, and even in present day, identifying as LGBTQ+ inevitably comes with othering, shame, and loneliness. Similar to many other moments in history, this outcasting is a product of misunderstanding and ignorance. What many people don't understand is that refusing to educate oneself on the LGBTQ+ community outcasts people in that very community. We are outcasts because how can one relate or empathize with someone they don't care to understand? Furthermore, the same ignorance spreads hate and misunderstanding throughout our community, which in turn perpetuates a cycle of fear and isolation. This cycle can only deepen the divide between us, which is why it is so important to care about what you learn today. Just one individual committing to learning more about allyship will bring us all closer together. The word community can be confusing. We all have our neighborhood communities, our families, our cities, and our school. All of these communities, whether you know it or not, have proud LGBTQ+ people in them. Without educating oneself on the human condition of LGBTQ+ people, one cannot call themselves part of these communities. One thing that makes up the foundation of every community is respect. respect for the beliefs of those in the community, respect for the feelings and thoughts of those in the community, and most importantly, respect for the members of those in the community. Without this mutual respect, a community cannot function. A community needs to be united to be strong, and without mutual respect, it is nothing more than a fantasy. We come here to Bullis every day to learn and grow, but until we open our minds and our hearts and strive to respect each member of our community, all that we have is a dream. The first step to any relationship is empathy. The first step to empathy is understanding. So why should you care about this day of silence? You should care because there's an entire world of amazing LGBTQ+ people who are full of love and joy. It is unfortunately true that one who doesn't understand that LGBTQ+ people can live completely isolated from them. Here at Bullis, there are entire communities of LGBTQ+ people that are misunderstood and disrespected simply because others are ignorant of their experience. Today, politics, COVID, and other large influences have us feeling more divided than ever. Thus, now it is more important than ever to reach out to a new friend and make the commitment to learn and understand them. In 40 years, it will be the friendships that we make here in high school that we remember, and the friendships that make all the difference in our lives. Everyone understands how hard it can be to make a new friend, but don't allow fear, ignorance, and misunderstanding to get in the way of the amazing friendships that you could be making. Thank you. I would now like to invite Sam, they, them, and the future president of the PRISM Club. You got it.
I remember coming out in the 8th grade, and I had known I was queer for about a year at this point, and in class we were talking about an LGBT+ issue in government. And before making one comment, I mentioned that I was bisexual, or bi, and when in reality I'm actually pansexual, and that was the class before lunch. There was about 5 minutes in between the class and lunch, and by the time I walked into the lunchroom, everybody knew. My friend walked up to me and was asking me if I had come out and was telling me that everybody in the entire school knew about it. And now I'm fine with people knowing that I'm queer, and I almost wish that I could have, but I still wish that I could have told people myself instead of everyone just talking about it. And having the entire school know that I'm queer felt like a moment from a movie. I was almost impressed with how fast the news spread. It felt like gossip from one of those high school dramas. But it wasn't my choice. This legacy of being queer has almost haunted me as I kept moving through school. I've had people I've never met before asking me if I was gay. I've had people who I have never mentioned my queerness or sexuality or gender interrogating me for being gay. And I'm not gay, guys, I'm pan, which means that I love people regardless of sex or gender. The middle schoolers have also found out about this, and it feels like everyone in the school knows. Middle schoolers have talked about me who I don't even know, and they see me as just some weird gay kid whom they can talk badly about, and they don't know me, and I've never met before in my life. You guys also pretty much know I'm gender fluid, or actually you know me as that trans girl, but I'm not the trans girl. I'm not a girl at all. I mean, you got the trans part, right? I'm not just someone to be known as the trans kid, and I'm not just some diversity token for people to use. I'm a real person, and there is so much more than my gender or sexuality. And that's what I think most people forget. I can't make a gay joke or want to research a queer topic without being accused of making everything gay or making my entire personality being gay. And I am so much more than being gender fluid and pan. And it's a part of me, and it shaped me in so many ways. And yes, I am the gay kid or the trans kid, but my name is Sam. Next up, we have Elle.
Hi everyone, I'm Elle from the senior class. At Bullis, it's taken me a long time to feel comfortable coming to school as my authentic self. Years, in fact. Only my senior classmates know the girl I was freshman year. I was conforming. On my birthday, when the doctor told my parents I was a girl, at that moment, society had already curated my identity for me, a feminine straight girl. For years, I wished that feminine girl came naturally to me, but it didn't. My discomfort peaked in freshman year when I forced myself intensely to embody the hyper-feminine straight girl that others wanted for me. My cool junior brother and his girlfriend told me how to wear my uniform, how short to hem my skirt, and how blonde to bleach my hair. High school favors this type of girl, and that is evident, but the advantages did nothing for the pit in my stomach knowing I was someone else. As the year went on, I became more educated about sexuality in general. I had friends coming out as bisexual and gay, and I saw the consequences of their actions. I heard the comments made behind their backs. Then COVID hit. For me, it was a blessing. I was able to explore who I was as a person and who I wanted to be. I started talking to girls romantically, I started wearing clothes I was comfortable in, and I started feeling confident about myself. This isolation protected me for a while until it didn't anymore. Sophomore year, I came back to school with shorter hair, a girlfriend, and wearing pants occasionally. Choosing the pants option of the uniform was a big deal to me because then, for a long time, I believed that girls should be the most feminine they can be. Although I lost many friends through the process of coming out, I was able to find confidence in other parts of me than the validation from my peers. I remember sophomore year I ate lunch with Dr. Q almost every day because English was my favorite subject, and Dr. Q always made me feel comfortable being myself. I can say that about every single teacher I've had at Bullis. They've all made me feel comfortable being myself, and I'm so thankful for that, but a school cannot control the actions of its students. Having blue and gold days meant it was very hard to make new friends, and frankly, I didn't have any. I had the option to leave Bullis, but I didn't want to, not only because of the incredibly smart teachers I've been taught by, but also because I knew people had heard what happened when I came out, and I knew they would know why I left. I wanted to stay for myself, and I wanted to be a role model for others. Junior year, I had to make friends in general, and I was able to find cool, fun people that didn't blink an eye at my sexuality or masculine clothes because it isn't what defines me or other LGBTQ people. I'm so happy and thankful I stayed at Bullis because every good and bad thing I experienced made me the person I am today. And although this is just the surface of my experience, I hope you guys can just take away from it that being an ally, educating yourself, and just treating others the way you want to be treated can change someone's entire high school experience. Thank you so much for listening to our stories, and I'd like to bring back Miss Monroe Myers.
Hello, everyone. I'm Miss Monroe Myers. Many of you know me as the college counselor, but I am also the advisor to PRISM. And I just want you all to really take in the courage of all of these members coming up on here and being vulnerable and sharing their stories. My high school experience was not like this. I did not have a PRISM club. I could not be out until I was in college. And so I just am very thankful that and very privileged that I get to advise these amazing members. And I hope that today you really understand them and you understand what it means to be an ally. So throughout this week, we had QR codes throughout campus. We encouraged you to scan them and coming by some offices to fill out tags. And I would encourage all of you, if you have not done so already, stop by the offices. You can still scan those QR codes and fill out the tag and answer the question, what does it mean to be an ally? How can you be an ally to members of the Bullis community? So I really do want to encourage that. But again, I want to thank PRISM for their vulnerability for this. So the next portion of our presentation, we have a fantastic guest speaker who is going to share her story and having a panel discussion. So Joanna, or Jo, Lohman is a keynote speaker and performance coach who is building a new generation of authentic leaders who redefine success. She is the author of Raising Tomorrow's Champions and a member of the United States women's national team. She is the first player in Washington Spirit history to have her jersey retired, honoring her 16-year professional soccer playing career where she built a platform for social impact. She continues her influence as a human rights activist and sport diplomat. With her trademark blonde mohawk, multi-hyphenated existence, and her own experience with injury, defeat, and setback, Jo strives to live an unabashedly authentic life based around deep-rooted acceptance and helps others discover a comfort in their own skin. She now takes on her greatest adventure yet as wife to Melody and parent to Luna. Please give a very warm and welcoming round of applause for Joanna.
The late, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said that the true measure of a human is not where they stand in times of comfort and convenience. The true measure of a human is where they stand in times of challenge and controversy. Where do you stand? I asked myself this exact same question 20 years ago. I was a senior at Penn State University. Go Nittany Lions. I was flexing my academic muscle, ready to head out into the real world, and I was engaged to be married. The real shocking part, I was engaged to be married to a man, and I was comfortable. The surprise for most when I tell that story, and it's no offense to men whatsoever, is that I wasn't always this queer. I wish I could tell you that I came out of the womb waving a rainbow flag and rocking a baby mohawk, but that's just not the truth. And I'm here to tell you the truth. Growing up, I had no idea I was gay. I had no idea I was gay because I had exactly 0 role models when it came to living outside of the heteronormative lifestyle, when it came to sexual orientation and gender. And when you do not know an option for your identity exists, it cannot be your existence. You can't be what you don't see. So growing up in Silver Spring, Maryland, I was your quintessential tomboy. I came alive on the playgrounds and with a ball at my feet. I was the kind of person who felt more comfortable with mud on her knees than she did in a dress. In fact, I felt so uncomfortable in a dress that I refused to wear one to my aunt's wedding, and instead, I rocked this incredible black velvet pantsuit with a matching red bow tie. Yes, queen, okay? I was living my best life. I had a haircut nicknamed the Curtain. Look at those bangs. I rocked a variety of sweater vests. I loved a pair of Air Jordans. I was a girl in boys' basketball shoes. And I was restricted to one option when it came to sexual orientation, and that was straight. So I checked that box, and I was restricted to 2 options when it came to gender. Either you were a boy or you were a girl, and guess what? I was born a girl. So I had to check that box. So fast forward many years, many boyfriends later, and I'm a senior at Penn State University. I am on a full athletic scholarship, y'all. I am captain of the women's soccer team. I am a 4-time academic All-American. I am Big Ten Player of the Year. I am up for the Heisman Trophy of women's soccer, which is the Herman, and I'm supposed to go top 5 in the first ever women's professional soccer draft. And I have a 3.98 GPA, not just a pretty face, okay? And I am engaged to a very nice young man. I have society's version of everything, the American dream. I have the husband, I'm gonna have the dream career, I'm gonna buy the house in Potomac in suburbia. I'm gonna have 2.3 kids, and I'm gonna have the white picket fence, right? But I started to ask myself, is this my version of everything? Is this my dream? Am I too comfortable? And at the same time, I started to question my own identity. I had a teammate on the women's soccer team who had a crush on me, and I had a crush on her. And boldly, that is when I decided I needed to explore more options for my identity. And when I did this, it was like the heavens parted and the angels came down and, this is the life that I'm supposed to live. And so, I had to give the engagement ring back to my fiance. I'm sorry, I can't marry you. And that league that I was supposed to go top 5 in the draft, that league crashed and burned. It went bankrupt and it folded. So in what seemed like overnight, I lost the husband and I lost the dream career. Talk about challenge and controversy. Where do I stand? And so I started to come to terms with the fact that I was gay. And I had to tell my friends and my family. The hardest conversation was with my parents because I did a complete 180. One second, I am wedding dress shopping with my mother, and the next, I am telling her I am gay. It's that whiplash, right? And parents, they have a vision of what they think your life is going to be like, and when you step outside of that vision, it is like you shatter their dreams. And they have to mourn the death of who they thought you were going to become. I had to mourn the death of hetero Joe and become homo Joe. And my mother was quoted as saying, "It's hard, even when you accept it." And my father walks into my room, he is sobbing. He says, "Joe, I feel like I have lost you." And it takes time. It takes time to accept your new identity. And when you come out, when you share a truth about yourself that lives outside of the restrictive boxes that society presents as realistic options for identity, you feel vulnerable. You feel exposed. You feel all of the feelings: terror, liberation. Coming out, sharing a truth about yourself. There's not just one way to do it. And you don't just come out once, you come out your entire life. Everyone in this audience will come out. And I'm not saying you are all queer. What I'm saying is that coming out is stepping outside of your comfort zone. It is sharing something about yourself where you step into your own authenticity and you step into your own power during challenge and controversy. Coming out can look like saying no to peer pressure. It can look like standing up for a friend who is bullied. It can look like wearing a suit when everyone tells you to wear a dress to prom. It can look like being an artist when both of your parents are doctors. In an ideal world, we would never have to come out. But that's just unrealistic. We live in a world that is full of challenge, change, adversity, and pressure. The daily adversity is the battle between who we want to be versus who we are told we should be. The pull to conform versus the push to be an individual. Every single day, you all face social media pressures and expectations. Homophobia, transphobia, racism, misogyny, sexism. You face social constructs of beauty. You face religious, cultural, gender norms. And on top of that, that social media feed that you are scrolling, it is making a profit from all of you feeling like you do not belong. You will never be cool enough. You will never be thin enough. And you're never going to have enough friends. And that same social media feed that is pointing out all of the archaic ways that you are failing is the same one that is selling products to you to fix you. It's pretty disgusting. The real result is that we are miserable, trying to live up to an unhealthy standard of success, one that is results-based, outcome-driven, demands perfection, and is fearful of change. It's like we are all in this infinite, never-ending popularity contest where we compete for who has the most likes on Instagram and YouTube subscribers. It's like the American version of Hunger Games. May the algorithm be ever in your favor. Our world desperately needs a new generation of authentic leaders who will redefine success, and we will build it starting today. I know a thing or two about authentic leadership. Dun, 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 under pressure, right? And in challenging controversy. I was a professional soccer player for 16 years. I played on 7 different teams in 5 different countries. I was a member of the United States women's national team, who are 4-time Olympic gold medalists, 4-time world champions, and possess transcendent leadership that inspires dominance on the field and achieved historic equal pay. Hashtag big deal, right? These ballers are champions not just because of the trophies that they won, but because of the adversity overcome and the authenticity gained. You want to hear more of my struggles? I'm a survivor of 2 failed professional leagues in the United States of America. As one of the last players cut prior to the 2007 Women's World Cup. I lost all 3 championship games I've ever played in, and I've never won a title. I tore my ACL in what should have been the best season of my life. I sat on the bench more than I was on the field, and I made about $15,000 a year playing professional soccer. I'm not here to tell you about the glory. Why? You heard my bio. That's enough. And like I said to you, I'm here to tell you the truth. The truth is, a good life is never free from challenge, change, and pressure. A good life is forged precisely from the things that make it hard. It is through the breakdown that we have breakthroughs. It is through the challenging times that we experience change. Adversity is the catalyst for success. So it is about time that we redefine success, like the famous poet Ralph Waldo Emerson once said. To be yourself in a world that is constantly trying to make you something else is the greatest accomplishment. The greatest accomplishment, being yourself. Will it be easy? No. Will it be worth it? Yes. Take me, for example. I was a heterosexual, long-haired girl who was engaged to a man who was known for rolling her shorts and showing off her thighs and wearing skin-tight dresses. Hey, okay. All right, I still looked good. This is me. An androgynous lesbian who rocks the Johawk and is nicknamed the Rainbow Warrior. What a transformation. And 2 years ago, as I walked down the aisle, marrying the woman of my dreams, our arms raised high in celebration, feeling a lot more like a groom than a bride, I could feel that transformation. Was it easy? No. Was it worth it? Yes. Because now, my wife and I get to raise this beautiful young child, little Luna, and I get to teach her the lesson that I'm teaching all of you today, that no matter who you want to be, no matter what you want to do, you will face adversity. It is not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. You're going to get your heart broken. You are going to get punched in the face. And I get it. All of you are groaning. You're like, oh, adversity sucks. It's hard. It hurts. It's painful. I get it. Pain is an inevitable part of the process, the beautiful process. So you have to get used to it. Because the best parts of life are on the other side of fear. The best version of you is on the other side of fear. We have to get to the other side. And in order to do that, we harness adversity as the catalyst for success and the most essential building block to authenticity. Adversity is an opportunity. It is not a threat. When we go through adversity, we face rejection, humiliation, pain, and the pieces of our identity are on the floor. And we get to search through our identity and we get to say, you know what? These pieces here, this limiting belief, this narrative, this social construct of beauty, this social media pressure, I don't need that. That is limiting me from being the person I want to be. And then I get to see the versions of my identity that I love. That's the real version of Joe. And I get to pick up those pieces and I get to build into a bigger, better version of myself. More truth, real leadership, real allyship does not come with some kind of lacrosse captain's armband. It does not come through a certain amount of likes on your Instagram. Real leadership is a behavior demonstrated by an individual who has been through the struggle and understands their imperfections. Real allyship comes in all colors of the rainbow, in all shapes, in all sizes. The individual who stands in their truth during times of challenge and controversy is the person that I want to follow. It's the person that I want to be friends with. Where do you stand? Aristotle once said, to avoid criticism, say nothing, do nothing, and be nothing. That is no way to live. So my challenge for all of you today, say something, do something, and be something. Be an ally. And when you walk through those doors today, do not measure your success and your worth by where you stand in times of comfort and convenience. You better measure yourself by where you stand in times of challenge and controversy. So figure out, who do you want to be? Where do you stand? You can follow me on social media. Let me know where you stand, okay? Write me a little bit of a letter, say what's limiting you, and let's go. Measure yourself by where you stand at times of challenge and controversy. Thank you for the attention. Let's do it.
Woo, does everyone have chills right now? Because that was phenomenal. So now I would like to bring a couple people onto the stage. We're going to have a little bit of a panel discussion with Joanna. So I would like to invite her back up to the stage, Dr. Waters, Ryan, and Belle. So again, please give your undivided attention for this panel.
Testing. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you for that. I don't know if we really need this conversation after that oration, but that was great. And some of the things that jumped out about the whole coming out is not about necessarily coming out from a sexuality standpoint, but being comfortable and being uncomfortable. And that's some of the things that I believe I've communicated to our community. So as we get started, we have a few questions that members of PRISM have asked, and we'll go through them, but I wanted to read another story from a member of PRISM who wanted to be anonymous, and to get your perspective on what can be said, any advice, and so forth. So again, this is from a member of your community, Bullis. Wearing pants to school scares me. Even though I wear pants every day when I'm not in school, as soon as I step onto the campus wearing pants as a woman, I get stereotyped as a lesbian. To me, being a lesbian is nothing to be ashamed of. I am so comfortable with my identity and proud to be a lesbian, but when I am here, being a lesbian is so bad that it took years for me to be comfortable wearing pants to school. Although I'm expressing how I feel now, I am still terrified to wear pants, which I find to be frustrating for a number of reasons, and that is a stupid thing to be scared of. Every day I wake up, I am forced to make a decision that revolves around my comfort level or a reminder that I'm not truly safe to be my authentic self because of my fear that I may be violated again without my consent, just because I'm a female who wears a skirt to school. Traumatic, yes. My reality, yes. However, why is it I am less scared to wear a skirt than pants? Or why does the fear of being queer on this campus outweigh my fear of being inappropriately touched is the question I ask myself and of a community that my family entrusts with my overall safety. These are my thoughts.
So I would love to see a raise of hands from the audience if you think you're perfect. So look around right now. There's not a single hand raised. Everyone has something that they feel imperfect. And imagine if you came to school and your peers decided to point that out about you and make you feel less than because of it. So just take a moment and sit in that and how that would feel. And the person who makes you feel that way, it says a lot more about them than it does about you. Because when you bully someone, when you point out someone's insecurities, what you are really doing is projecting your own. And so you're saying to the world, I don't like myself. There's self-loathing, there's insecurity, there's fear, there's pain, and you're projecting it onto someone else to make you feel better. Does that make you proud of yourself? And for this person to share that, for me, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart that they can't show up as their authentic self to school because they feel as if there's going to be people who poke and prod and make fun of them for it. You cannot thrive as a human unless you can show up to school, to your athletics, to sports as your authentic self. So the more we hold one another back, we're holding back society. We are holding back our species. Because when I shine, I can make other people shine. When I love myself, I can love everybody else. So what I want to say to that student is, as much as it hurts, know it says more about them than it does about you. And the sooner that we can stand in our own truth and our own power, the more we emit this beauty and this confidence that is transcendent. So stand up, be seen, and let everyone else deal with their own insecurities in their own ways. That's what I would say.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm going to pass it. Yeah, please give a round of applause.
I wanted to ask, and you touched a lot about this on your speech, but how did you feel before and after you came out? You talked about before you came out, everything was kind of going right in your life, and kind of after, that changed. Yeah. But how did you feel as far as the comfort with yourself and your own identity before and after you shared that with the world? Oh, sorry.
Like I said when I discussed it with you all on stage, is that when you share a truth about yourself, you feel all of the emotions. Life is truly a paradox. When you feel fear, it's also exhilaration. When you feel terror, it's liberation. And when I decided to come out in terms of my sexual orientation, I felt like I was stepping into my own freedom. When I cut off all of my hair in 2007, I had long hair, I shaved it all off. Women are so very often judged by the length of our hair, and I was tired of being put into a box. So I chose liberation. And when I came back to play for the Washington Freedom in 2015, I was Joe, but I was Joe to the power of 10. My mohawk became the Joe Hawk. I was carving patterns into the side of my hair. And it was no coincidence that when I was thriving off the field, I was thriving on it. I was second leading goal scorer. The team made it to the championship game. I was connecting to a fan base. And when I walked off the field drenched in sweat, doing what I love, I had fans coming up to me, not saying, hey, great goal or great assist. They said, thank you for being an out and proud professional athlete because you've given me the strength to come out to my parents. You've given me the courage to feel comfortable in my own skin. And that is the greatest compliment that I could ever receive. And so for me, I realize when I feel fear, when I feel terror, I'm doing the right thing. Because I'm pushing boundaries for society, and I'm making the path more comfortable for students, for youth who may walk behind me, who don't want to feel judged by the same restrictive standards that society has. So it's something higher for me, yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so our next question that we came up with, we wanted to ask, how do you deal with adversity within circles of family, with friends, and especially in the workplace?
So how do I deal with adversity? I mean, that's a really great question. So every single day that I wake up, it's a choice to be authentic. Because so very often, I am too masculine. I am too muscular. My haircut is too sharp for society to view me as a woman. So when I walk into a bathroom, when I walk into a locker room, when I walk through TSA at airports, it's like a gender war zone. And people stare at me, they do double takes, they'll call me sir. And it's a deliberate choice for me to look them in the eye and say, I'm a woman. Because people fear what they don't know. And people think different is dangerous. And they so badly want you to fit into these neat little boxes and tie it up with a ribbon because that makes them feel more comfortable. If I can humanize a label, if someone can see me and they can see that I'm kind and I'm just a human being, then they're able to see that maybe different isn't dangerous. And that's someone who's courageous enough to be themselves when they're constantly facing resistance. So for me, it's a daily practice, right? Authenticity is a daily practice. It's not a destination that I'm trying to get to. It's an orientation of how I show up in this world. So when I share my coming out moment, it wasn't as if it was all downhill from there, right? Life got harder because as you continue to stand in challenge, controversy, and stand in your truth, the more resistance you're going to face. So what I found is that as I began to be bolder, more muscular, more masculine, the more resistance I was taking on. And I was strong enough to face that because I realized that resistance was a great sign that I am pushing society in a way that needs to be pushed. Thank you.
Thank you for that. So you've said quite a bit, and some of the themes that I've heard is staying your truth, being authentic, respecting people for who they are, as opposed to focusing on what they are, and so forth. So as we're concluding with our last question, if there was something or that one thing or a few things that you want to communicate to us as a community, what would that be?
I think we all have inherent biases. When we think of a label, we think of certain characteristics or certain personality traits, and even when we think of ourselves, and they're very limiting. Stereotypes, social constructs, norms, they're very limiting, and you're limiting yourself. So the more that we can challenge our own assumptions, when I see someone, what am I already thinking in my brain of who they are before letting them tell their own story? Right? So challenge your own assumptions. Ask yourself why. Why do I believe these things? Why do I have to be a certain way? And when you see someone that may be different from you, take a second to listen to their story. Because we're all human beings. We're not human doings, right? And so we have so much more in common than we do that separates us. And the beauty of the journey of life is that we get to find these commonalities with one another, and we get to connect through those commonalities. And life is not about perfection, it's about connection. So the more quality relationships you can build with people, truly, the happier you are going to be and the more valuable of a life you are going to live. So challenge your assumptions and then listen to the people around you.
Thank you. Can we get a round of applause for Joe, members of PRISM? Thank you. As Senior Winford is coming up to close us out and give us further directions, this could not have happened without members of PRISM. Thank you again. Let's give them a round of applause. Ms. Borelli, the Director of Wellness, thank you for your support in making this program possible. My senior leadership team, as well as always the soundboard back there and everyone who was allies and so forth. Give everyone another round of applause. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being present. Thank you for listening. We heard some very powerful stories today. The power of being authentic, true self. The importance of challenge, of challenging ourselves. The importance of allyship. Because when we hear someone else's story, we have so much to learn. We have so much to see. And by us being present and listening, that in itself can be such a powerful form of allyship. It's about respect. It's about consideration. And even if we challenge ourselves to consider other perspectives, we still must always make time to listen. As we conclude our program, we do feel it is important to show the power of being present. And we are going to conclude this program with one final portion outside.